Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to Stay Curious, our first episode of March 2024, and by all our accounts, about episode 1002, as we bring you space history, astronaut birthdays, and some astronomy is unusual things that you might not get anywhere else. We're proud of that we've been doing this for almost 4 years. We being Marty Winkle, my co-producer. Hey, Marty, how you doing?
Doing good, Mark. How are you?
You good? You lost a little sleep last night on a beautiful rocket launch of a SpaceX fifth time for that crew, that spacecraft Endeavour. Can you believe it, Marty?
Yeah, it was oh, cut me out of this.
How was the
I
crowd?
can't even think.
How was the crowd at Spaceview Park last night?
It wasn't near as crowded as it has been in the past.
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing it was probably our smallest crowd, but you figure it's a Sunday evening. People have to go to work the next day. Kids go to school, so numbers were down quite a bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, it got scrubbed Saturday because a lot of people drive over from Orlando, but driving back Sunday night, nope, that's no fun around these parts here where traffic is always pretty congested. But yeah, we're going to talk about the Crew 8 being launched last night. This is one of the SpaceX crews docking with the International Space Station. That's going to happen tomorrow morning about 3 o'clock. That's a pretty quick up and down for them, about 20, 28, 20, 30 hours, something like that. We're going to ask you how many humans are orbiting Earth right now and who are they? So we're going to recap that for you here on Stay Curious. We got 3 astronaut birthdays that happened on Sunday, and we're going to reveal the shuttles of the month of March. We're the only episode on YouTube, we think, that consistently tells you about the history of our 3-decade space shuttle, and a couple other surprises for you today as we celebrate Women's History Month all through the month of March. And we're going to kick it off with a couple great women leaders of their respective companies going to space. But first, Marty, we wanted to thank Ram and Mel and Barat, the family that financially supports us from time to time, and their gohistorytravel.org. They preserve history just like we do. An amazing little Facebook and website they have where they just kind of show up and take you to the birthplaces and all the schools of some characters, everything that they've done. Some of the people in history, not just as astronauts, but they've been all over the world. So check out gohistorytravel.org with our friends. And we have to always be talking about financially supporting our nonprofit. This is our Donate to the Museum webpage that you can find by going to the orange button at the top, and we can give you a tax-deductible donation in many ways, including PayPal. Or you can give a little bit here on our Stay Curious podcast on YouTube, as astronaut Winston Scott was on the show, and using him hiding my face there to show you the convenient little $ thanks button that appears after our program. So you can go to look at all the other programs from last week and last month, and there's so many good ones on there. And we appreciate everybody going back and just kind of browsing and picking out, or you could Google Nick Thomas in there, the astronaut wrangler, and see all of his almost a couple dozen shows that have been on Stay Curious. But that's the way that you can donate. Easy click there. There's a $500 donation to us. Buy and send right there. Shuttle Fest 3, we're ramping up for all the publicity and getting things scheduled there. April 13th, 2024 at the Hyatt Place in Titusville. We celebrate the space shuttle era like nobody, and this being number 3, we look forward to years and years of bringing together the fellowship of the space workers, not just astronauts, and we're working on a few astronauts, but we'll talk more about Shuttle Fest. The theme is more than just astronomy missions, as we're going to talk about Astro 1 and 2, Ulysses and Galileo, and some of the interesting things behind the scenes that sort of revolutionize how the shuttle was processed or talked to in the future. Hyatt Place, there they are off Route 1, just before the 405 overpass that takes you into Kennedy Space Center as you come into the outskirts of Titusville from the north end, and south side going north. So, and there are some rooms, just ask Space Shuttle rate, Shuttle Fest rate. They have 10 rooms blocked off for those of you who want to come down and enjoy the day events on April 13th. Well, kicking off Women's History Month, we will be talking about some of the influencers and women that have broken the glass ceiling, so to speak. We're going to see if we can get Joanne Morgan on here this month before she goes back to Montana. My executive director, Karan, Conklin's a good friend with hers, and we'll effort that. But we hope to get some women guests on Stay Curious like we've never had before, so we'll be efforting that throughout the month. But we want to just give a shout out to our women's gallery and the great job that Nick Enix does. He's had to move all the pictures around to accommodate Jeanette Epps, who's now the latest lady to go to our walls. And that makes 76 out of 614 humans. 76 of them are women. And who is that astronaut, you might ask? Yes, that's Rusty Schweikert, who, as former president of the Association of Space Flight Explorers, ASE, he was fascinated, Marty, with our women's gallery when he was here with Jouk Klausma doing an autograph session for the documentary on Skylab, where he was a backup. But he loved it. He took a panorama of everything, and we have a little short bio of every woman that's been in space, all 76 of them now up there. And thank you, Rusty Schweikert, for endorsing and heartily being enthused about our women's gallery. He has never seen a room dedicated to every woman who's been in space. That is Kathy Thornton's blue suit in the background. At the bottom, we featured many times the handprints of Sally Ride, Eileen Collins, and Kathy Sullivan. The first women in space for each country, of course, was Valentina Tereshkova for Russia, Sally Ride for America, and Lui Yang of China. And they kind of carry with them a couple sayings that become their moniker. So I pulled a couple of them off here just to kick off Women in Space Week with these seminal women of their countries that gone to space. Tereshkova, of course, in 1963, I believe, she said, "A bird cannot fly with only one wing," meaning that a male wing and a female wing is needed to fly properly. And then one of the great quotes I love from Sally Ride is, "You can't be what you can't see." And thousands, millions of women saw her, young girls saw her doing something they just dreamed about. And so many of them have followed, not just to be astronauts, but other careers in the space program. So you can't be what you can't see. And then Lui Yang, she talks a lot in a Chinese metaphor, an old saying, when all the people collect the wood, you will make a great fire. So when you get men and women and everybody working together, great things can happen. So all these women have influenced the space age as far as how we look at women. Valentina never flew again. They made her put her on a pedestal. She's in her 80s, late 80s, been in the Politburo for the Soviet Union for, of course, since the 60s. Sally Ride passed away in 2012 of cancer, and she flew on two missions, and was going to fly a third. Then the Challenger happened. And Lui Yang, Sally Ride's mission, of course, was in 1983, 20 years after Tereshkova. And then Lui Yang, sometime around 2012, something like that's when she flew in the young Chinese space program there. China's flown 3 women in space. How many people orbiting Earth? Human beings, that is. Earthlings that are off the Earth. 14 as of this moment. 3 Chinese, 4 Russian, 1 Japanese, 1 from Denmark, and 5 Americans. 3 American women and 2 men. When do you think you'd see the women outnumber the men of Americans in space? Well, you're seeing it now. And in fact, we have not had an American male in space since last August when Crew 6 came back. So there's the pictures of them. We're going to look at them in depth just a little bit. On the lower left-hand corner is Expedition 71 on the International Space Station. We'll begin with the docking shortly after the docking of Crew 8 this morning. And those 4 astronauts are part of Expedition 71 to do more science, astronomy, biogenetics, all kinds of things up there. What a complex-looking logo that is for 71 there in the lower left-hand corner. So by our tally, well, it's not our tally, it's the Association of Space Explorers. And the only way you can join that club is to orbit the Earth. And they have 614 members now. And 76 of them are women. So that makes 538 men have gone to space. And my good friend and co-producer Marty's come up with the name for the suborbital astronauts. We're going to call them Karmanauts, because they cross the Kármán line. And then there's a couple Air Force 50-mile lines in there, not the 62-mile, the Kármán line. We figure 50 or more have done that so far. Comment, Marty.
Yeah, we have a comment from Dave Stange. He said, I was just on the phone. Put my glasses on. Hang on a second.
Slow down, Marty,
Yeah.
as we're off to a new millennial of our programs here. Nothing to worry about.
I was just on the phone with the hotel for information about the discounted rate. I had to ask about the American Space Museum gathering. Shuttlefest did not show up on their site when I asked.
Okay, Dave, I got some more work to do then when we're done with this Stay Curious program here. Hope you did book your room. I'll get you the lower rate, okay? Not everybody's communicating on the same page at these hotels around here, as turnover's quite frequent, but I've talked to the manager and we've got some rates blocked off there. Make sure you make a reservation, because these hotels are filling up quick around here. Yes, Marty?
Yeah, it sounds like he did make the reservation, but you may want to double check.
Okay, yeah, like I said, thank you. I got more work to do. So, I'm not a hotel booker, and I'm not going to pretend to be, and we'll turn that over to somebody else. But yes, this is not a cheap place to get a hotel. You're staying in a $225 a night hotel there that we're kind of trying to get a good discount off of. And sometimes they don't always work with you, Marty, do they? So, anyway, thank you for that information there. Now let me get back into our program here where, there we go. We got kick off the shuttles of the month of March, something that Marty and I have loved doing, featuring how many shuttles, how many orbiters, the people that went up with them. We'll just touch this briefly today, where we've got 9 shuttles launched in the month of March. All of the orbiters were launched more than once. That's pretty interesting there, though it looks like I add up to 10 there. 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah, 10. All right, why did I say 9? Columbia, OV-102 3 times. Discovery, 3 times. What's missing, of course, is no Challenger there. Wasn't launched in the month of March. OV-103, Discovery 3 times. Atlantis, OV-104 twice, and Endeavour 105. And boys, Endeavour looking incredible, being stood on its end out there at the Los Angeles Museum as we watch some of the progress of that. Of course, Atlantis is out here at Kennedy Space Center, and Discovery is wheels down at the Udvar Hazy Museum of the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. Well, these missions represent one Hubble mission that was launched March 1st, STS-109. We'll talk about that later in the month. We're going to talk about STS-67 today briefly, launched on March 2nd, 1995, as we're going to feature that at our Shuttle Fest. And so we got 3 hard hat missions of the missions here, 2 DoD missions, That'd be 29, and STS-3 was sort of a Department of Defense mission, the only one to land out at Edwards Air Force, White Sands, and only 2 crewmen in that, of course, Jack Lausma and Engel. We had a real nice, neat mission I can't wait to talk about later on is going to be STS 76 there, which had a space hab and a 3rd Mir docking in 1996, and 2 Earth resource missions way before the shuttle there in the 80s. Early 90s, 62 in 1994, and 1992 the Atlas, which was a very important atmospheric mission that is the bedrock in 1992 for what's going on 30 years later with the global warming. So we'll feature these throughout the month of March, but let's first talk about a Tom Usiak Hasselblad launch there of STS 67 Endeavour with the Astro 2 telescope suite of 3 telescopes. This was launched 5 years after Astro 1, STS 35, in December 1990, and had these 7 members on board. 2 of them have unfortunately passed on. You've got in the upper left-hand corner, look at Wendy Lawrence, Marty. We've seen Wendy quite a bit out at the Space Center, and she's really young looking there. That's her first of 4 flights. Next to her is Ronald Parise, who passed away a few years back. His second of 2 flights. He was an astronomer right with Sam Durrance in the middle there, and Sam died last year. Both of them were involved with Astro 1, flew up with it. Then you've got John Grunsfield on his first of 5 flights. Grunsfield, most famously, Hubble repair spacewalker on 2 of the 5 upgrades, I believe he did. And let's see, you've got Tammy Jernigan, 3rd of 5 flights. She's very seasoned at this point, as is Commander Scott Oswald in the middle. And Bill Gregory, there was the pilot, and that's his only flight. They always dress up in one little top to show off the team spirit there. And there's the suite of telescopes. That's the Orion, the 3 belt stars of Orion, I can tell, Marty, and they're in the southern hemisphere because it's upside down. And but this was the Hopkins. John Hopkins had an ultraviolet telescope on there. University of Wisconsin had a telescope on there, and there was another ultraviolet telescope on there that did some groundbreaking astronomy work. Almost 17 days for Endeavour to fly. That was the longest flight to date. I quickly want to consult my scroll here. Those 17 days. That was Endeavour's 8th flight. Okay, I wonder how many flights that was for Endeavour. That was its 8th flight, according to the shuttle scroll there. So, and here's the Astro patch that we have there that clearly depicts. Looking for my book. Should have laid my book out there, Marty, somewhere. All right. Clearly shows the telescopes and the different light that they're looking at through there. You've got galaxies and Jupiter were prime missions of that orbiting the Earth. So very simple there with using the Astro. That's okay, Marty. Using the astronomy A symbol. They've got the Earth and an orbit vector around it, around the A, looking similar to the astronaut pin, which Parise and Sam Durrance never got one because they weren't official NASA employees. They were astronomers and crew members. They were not mission specialists, payload specialists. Thank you there. So beautiful patch there. And they did a play on it with Astro on the Jetsons cartoon, Rastro too. because he was always rough and rastro there. So a lot of fun with this group and of engineers that worked on this. Scott Bongan is one. Mikey Haddad, who appears monthly on our program with payloads. They are the key speakers in putting together a program with me on our Shuttle Fest event here coming up in just 4 weeks. So, all right, Shuttles of the Month are kicked off there. And let's get to a couple birthdays going on here. And what did I do with those birthdays? There they are. We've got 3 astronauts born on March 3rd, which was Sunday. Jim Adamson, Bonnie Dunbar, and Jim Voss. They got 12 space shuttle flights between them. And let's look at each of them individually. 3 astronauts. Actually Bonnie Dunbar and Jim Voss were both born on March 3rd, 1949. So they're 75 years old. And there is Mr. Jim Adamson, was born March 3rd, 1946 in Warsaw, New York. And we had a great interview with him on March 9th, 2022. Jim kind of wants to stay under the radar. He had 2 missions, STS-43 and STS-28. 43 is shaped like the Mercury capsule. Blaha was his commander on that with our friend Mike Baker is the pilot. And he flew as a Department of Defense mission, STS-28. Good friend of our museum. Jim is one of the NASA lunch groups that I attend, so hopefully get to wish him a happy birthday Wednesday. Very neat guy, West Point graduate, and he splits his time between Florida in the winter and up in his native hometown of Warsaw, New York, during the summertime. So all you locals up there, I'm sure, have seen Jim at some of the things going on up there. And there is the beautiful Bonnie Dunbar. Bonnie was born in Sunnyside, Washington, and she graduated high school in 1967 in Sunnyside, worked for Boeing for a couple years. She flew on 5 space shuttle missions and had 2 dockings with the Mir space station. Wow. And we've got all those missions outlined on our Facebook page. And then you got Jim Voss. James Shelton Voss was born March 3rd, 1949 in Cordova, Alabama. I know Kathy Thornton's also from Alabama. He was raised in Opelika, Alabama. For those of you from Bama there, Opelika. He also had 5 shuttle missions and was a 163-day stay as Expedition 2. All right, so he was up there with the general lady. I knew I was going to forget her name as soon as I thought about it. She was, who was the woman that was on Expedition 2? She's an Air Force general, was over the wing out here. Tommy Usiak will remind me of her name. But anyway, that's irrelevant. One of our early pioneering astronauts on the space station, Expedition 2. That was 69 missions ago. Okay. Marty's going to look that up for me. That'll drive me nuts. I've always wanted to meet her too. So happy birthday to those all 3 born on March 3rd up there. As we look at this beautiful picture of the International Space Station taken this year, we hope to get another good view of it. Maybe Crew Dragon 8 will do a fly around in daylight to take some new pictures of it. Of course, we're constantly talking about deorbiting this sometime in the next 10 years for sure. Early 2030s, they think. That's going to be a sad day. But of course, things do wear out. Hopefully one of the private companies will buy a few sections of it. Susan Helms, Marty. Susan Helms is the Expedition 2 woman that was up there. It's an Air Force general. Thank you for looking that up, Marty. Anyway, gorgeous shot of there. The reflecting of those of you really into the ISS can tell probably exactly when that was taken by the style of solar panels that they've replaced on there, and it's 25 years of orbiting the Earth. They're coming into 22 and a half years continuously occupied. There's that big, beautiful Expedition 72 logo. Wonder what Jim Voss is thinking, being Expedition 2 up there with them docking. Can't figure out what's on that little left-hand corner there, making the. Is that the front of a docking probe, Marty, or something? In the upper left up there. Yeah, if I make it smaller there, right. That part of it right there. Not sure what that artwork is, but I'll look it up for you. All right. Well, let's get back to the fact that we've got 14 human beings, 14 Earthlings that are now space people working in space. Just fascinating, isn't it? There kind of gives you the dimensions of the International Space Station in Tiangong. Tiangong's about the size of what the Mir Space Station was. Their crew is going to be rotating out. Let's look at who's up there in space right now. There's the Tiangong, but that's a little misleading that it's 3 times as big the International Space Station. The living quarters is only like 2 modules bigger. A lot of that is, of course, the solar panels and so forth on there. Well, here's the Chinese that we have in space, communists, of course. You got 2 gentlemen named Tang. All right, you got Tang Hongbo, the commander, and Tang Xinji. And then the other astronaut on the right is Jin Jinlin. Those 2 are, the middle and the right are rookies, okay? 131 days they have been in space on this expedition of Tiangong, which I think is their 3rd full expedition. The guy on the left, Tang Hongbo, this is his 3rd mission, 223 days in space. He was the 2nd Chinaman to go to space, and he is getting seasoned and experienced. And China released last week the names of their spaceships that they're naming their moon ships, okay? So they're definitely going to the moon with this guy on the left, Tang Hongbo, be in the queue for that. We'll find out. Marty, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, Carlton Bailey's saying the moon lander might be in the upper left.
Okay, but thanks for the guess there. Don't know why a moon lander would be on the International Space Station, but I think it's part of the whole 7, making the 7's the back end of a spacecraft. But we'll look into the artwork behind that, as we love talking about art in space in our STEAM education programs here. So there's your 3 Chinese up there, okay, and now let's look at the. They've been up there since October 26th, okay? And now we've got the Crew 7, all right, that I found out they're going to return Saturday. Don't have a time, Marty. So we're going to have a full week of having 11 humans up there on the International Space Station. Crew 7 on the left, there's Jasmine. They've been up there now 192 days. As of today. They were launched August 26th last year, 2023. And commanders, rookie commander Jasmine Mogali, pilot Andreas Morgensen of Sweden. You've got Satoshi Furukawa of Japan and Konstantin Borisov of Russia are part of this crew that's coming back, part of the Expedition 70 crew that have been up there 192 days. Morgensen had 10 days on the space station, one of the last shuttles, I believe. And then Furukawa, the Japanese gentleman on the left, he is now in his 359th day on space. On 4 missions, he's one of a handful of people that have ridden the Soyuz spacecraft, a shuttle, and the Crew Dragon. And I think Michael Barrett joined that. Hashidi's another one, a Japanese astronaut. I think there's about 6 now that have been in 3 different spaceships. Wow, that's incredible. As we're talking about 4 spaceships for Earthlings to get off this Earth are now docked to their respective places up there, orbiting the Earth. So they've been up there 192 days. They're coming back Saturday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it could be about 197 days up there for all of them. And don't have any details about the landing yet. But there's their patch that they always use a stylized dragon. They being SpaceX. This is a commercial crew flight with a contract with the NASA. The Crew 8 was an additional one that they tagged on 3. I think Crew 7 was also, because the Boeing Starliner is not ready. And so those missions that were given to the Starliner have now been given to SpaceX, who tentatively launched 2 people in space, Doug Hurley, Bob Behnken, 5 years ago next month, Marty, on the very spacecraft that's going to dock with the International Space Station tomorrow morning, a little after 3, the 5th flight of Endeavour. Well, here's the Russians that went up. Well, not the Russians, 2 Russians and an American there. They were launched September 15th, 3 weeks after Crew 7 was. They've been in space 172 days. The commander's Oleg Kononenko, and he has now been in space for 908 days. And they're probably going to stay up about another 30 days. Each of these crews are rotated out about every 6 months. So he'll have close to 940 days in space on 4 missions, I believe. 2 long duration space stations. So I'd be interested to talk to him how he's seen its change. Nikolai Chubb, a Russian, and Laurel O'Hara is the American up there. She'll be getting back just in time to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Being O'Hara there, I'll bet that does mean a lot to her. 172 days in space right now for O'Hara and Chubb. That's how long that mission with the Soyuz spacecraft, that's their ride back to Earth. And just launched last night at 10:53, a beautiful night launch on a starry night. Were 3 rookies. Commander Matthew Dominic, he's up there in the upper left. Then you got Michael Barrett. Michael right now is 213 days in space and counting. He had 212 days on a Soyuz and a shuttle mission. Dominic and Barrett are the first U.S. men in space, men now since September 2023. And then, of course, lower left, we've got Janet Epps, a rookie from the United States, and Alexander Grebenkin, a Russian rookie there on the right. So with the agreement with Russia as partners at the International Space Station, we're always flying an American on their Soyuz or a Russian on our taxis up to space up there. So we wish them well. They're going to dock. How exciting is that? Just hours away from, they're about 11 hours away from docking. So they're enjoying their ride in this, what is proven to be a beautiful spaceship, Marty. We've talked to several people that have been on that spaceship. Proctor's one. She said she would go in a heartbeat back up there. It was such a wonderful experience when she was up there with the St. Jude's ride, the private ones there. So, and there is the Crew 8 Dragon, a stylized dragon in the shape of an 8 with the Endeavour spacecraft there, the International Space Station, and the names of the astronauts there. Astronauts, cosmonauts, and tachionauts orbiting the Earth at this very moment. There is the beautiful docking that Marty chose for our backdrop there out of one of the windows of the International Space Station. Again, just in the lower left-hand corner, we're reminded that, that thin blue line, is the only thing that matters as far as a border when it comes to the Earth there. So, all right, there's our beautiful, go up there. Here's what a art rendering looks like. Crew 8 Crew 7's up there at the upper left-hand corner. Crew 8's going to dock to the other left. Just below to the left of Crew Dragon will be Crew 8. You've got Cygnus and Progress. There's 2 Progress and 1 Cygnus. Those are cargo ships that have been launched. Of course, the Progress is the Russian cargo ships. They're going to be putting 86 full of all their dirty laundry and bad electronic stuff and burning it up in the atmosphere. Cygnus 7 was took up some supplies just recently, and Soyuz MS-24 is the ride back to the astronauts, two Russians and Laura O'Hara, back probably about the beginning of April up there. So we'll tell you that when we find out about it. But exciting to watch Crew 8 Dragon dock right below where the Crew 7 is there. So thank y'all. There's our Earthlings off the planet Earth today. And Steve Jokums, thank you. I got your box today, Steve. I will shoot you an email. They just brought it to me. Steve is going to be at Shuttlefest and has brought some swag for y'all that we're going to put in swag bags. Dave Stangy, thank you for your question. Robert Law up in Dundee, Scotland. Hope you're doing well. Cynthia Rossi, it's great to see her over the weekend. Doug Forrest, Nick Sedler, and Mark Usiak watching today. And yes, Cynthia, Marty was out at Zorella's. We got together with Jonathan Ward. Looked a little, I didn't hang around, but they got to see astronaut Katie Coleman came into Zorella's. And I thought a lot of more astronauts would come in on Friday night before the Saturday launch, because that's quite a haven for astronauts. Zorella's Restaurant, giving you a plug. Mike Zorella, the owner, and John Zorella, the Hall of Fame CNN reporter, is his dad and a good friend of the American Space Museum. So, Marty, we're excited about our Shuttle Fest coming up. A lot to do about it. So, there's the beautiful Hyatt Place where we're going to stage number 3. We've got quite a program together to honor even Sam Durance, who's passed away. And we will go full steam ahead with this Shuttle Fest as a way to brand the museum, as well as enjoy the fellowship of space workers like you've never seen before. So, Marty, anything else we need to clean up on our Streamlabs program here?
Nope, we're good.
Well, I've been piling up my astronomy news because about every day I get Webb telescope finds a galaxy where it shouldn't be. New discovery from Webb's telescope revolutionizes idea of where planets form. And I mean, every day this amazing telescope combined with the Hubble telescope is completely changing how astronomers view our universe. And I'm going to touch upon a few of those stories on a little bit of Stargazer Stay Curious Astronomy from the backyard, where you can see things, because the moon's not out now. It's gone into the after midnight sky. And Marty, guess what? This is the last week to enjoy Eastern Standard Time. Sunday, we will have a 23-hour day and spring forward, so that a lot of people like yourself that enjoy outdoor activities will get an extra hour of daylight. Astronomers say we don't like that. But I'm going to be out and do some stargazing over this weekend, and we're going to share some backyard astronomy with you tomorrow on Stay Curious. So I'm Mark Marquette, saying we are very thankful for everybody that supports this program. Please tell your friends that we do things that we love doing, and sharing the shuttle era and astronauts like we did today is our wheelhouse. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette, saying I can't wait to see you under the stars to bridge the space between us.